Yo, what's up guys, and today I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be doing another scenario from Kubernetes Go called Cilium Tetragon, an eBPF-based security observability and runtime enforcement. So let's get into it. First of all, if you don't know what eBPF means, eBPF is otherwise known as an extended Berkeley packet filter, and it is a technology in the Linux kernel which allows the user to safely execute custom code within the kernel. And eBPF is mainly used for multiple purposes such as networking, security, performance profiling, tracing, etc. So what this does is it is a runtime. It is a runtime auditing. So it basically audits at a kernel level. So no matter which profile you're logged into, so you could be root anything, it will still audit your run. Basically, will audit your commands and stuff you're doing on the device. So it will be used basically for a lot for security auditing and real runtime enforcement. So it updates in real time. So let's get into it. So first, let's read the overview. So basically, the containers and the infrastructure are immutable, which it means it's very difficult to detect certain attacks, vulnerabilities, and detections like traditional tools and technologies. In this scenario, we'll see how we can leverage the popular open source tool like Cilium Tetragon to detect and perform runtime security monitoring using the tracing policy in action. So this will perform runtime security monitoring in real time, and we'll also use a tracing policy to figure out. So by the end of this is a little diagram which is basically maps out the way which Tetragon will be used. So we see here the container with the host with the privileged host system. We do a cat etc shadow, and we see we get more powers. But you see Tetragon, it will go into the host system, and then here it will audit all the stuff here. So you say what happens. We see here there's a process here, bin cat etc shadow, stuff like that. So basically real-time runtime auditing. That's basically what we're going to be doing in this scenario. We're using Tetragon. So by the end of the scenario, we will understand the following. We will learn how to deploy the Helm chart into the Kubernetes cluster, performing the log analysis and detection of security events in Kubernetes clusters, use, analyze, and detect security issues in the near real time using Cilium Tetragon. The story is this scenario we will deploy a runtime security monitoring detection for containers and Kubernetes resources. Also explore and see how we can detect certain issues and perform detections using tracing policy based on the attacker's triggers. So first we have to make sure that we are following the deployment, and we have the latest version of Helm, which I believe is version 3, and we can basically get started with this. And basically the goal of this scenario is to deploy the Cilium Tetragon and detect security events in the near real time using the tracing policy in the event. So let's get into it. So to get started with this scenario, we basically need to copy the Helm repo, add Cilium, and this will basically add the repo using Helm here. And you see I've already done this, so I'll just skip this part, and it doesn't really take that long. So now we want to actually update the repo to see if there is any new updates, and see here it has successfully updated our repo. Now we can go ahead and install Tetragon in our namespace cube system. So go back, paste that in. This will take a while. What this basically does is installs Tetragon, and we see here the status is deployed, which means it will be running shortly. So now we can verify that Tetragon pods are in running state by running this following command. Now this will basically check if they are gonna run, and this part usually takes a while for them to get actually up and running. So yeah. Now we see the Tetragon has been successfully rolled out, and now we know that these pods are running. So what we can do here is go back to the website, and we want to just see the goal of the scenario is to deploy the Tetragon and basically figure out the real-time. We want to get real-time security monitoring. So what we can do here now is actually we can use Tetragon for all of these stuff, and now here what we want to do is actually get the pod and see if it's for running. So what this will do is we see it's running, all the status about it and how old it is, stuff like that, blah blah. So here this will manually get out the logs for Tetragon here. I believe this will be in raw JSON, so it's not the best to look at, and it's pretty hard to figure out what is what. But we see here all of these logs, and we see this is real-time monitoring. So this is actually if we do something, it will audit this in here in raw JSON format. We see here we're using Python 3, and then basically this is just logging every command which is being run on the pod. Here what we can do is go back to the website. Now what this command does is we want to now go into the system monitoring pod and try privileges escalation to the host system and see if it is detectable by Tetragon. So what this will do is simple environment variable and basically kubectl exec into the pod with bash. Go back. I suggest you do in a different tab, paste that in, and we see we should be getting a shell. Now we got the shell here. We just did clear, and now if we go back to the logs and we do the logs one more time, and you can see here it has logged out that we did use clear just when it had the start time, stuff like that. So it does log, it does work. So now here what we can do ID to see if it's logging. We go back and we see here user bin ID as what binary has done and when it's done. So we know it's working now, but it's pretty hard to see and not very presentable. So here we want to cat shadow to see if it will log it, and we get stuff back here, and we also get cat shadow. The argument is shadow, and we just get a bunch of information. The important thing is that we know it is working, and real-time monitoring is working. So here what we can do is, now we know it's working, we want to make it basically look better, I guess. So here what we can do is do clear, and now go back to the website, and now here we will be actually installing the official Tetra CLI client in our local system. And what this will do, this will basically make everything more presentable and much easier to look at, so we know where we're looking at. And that's basically how it's going to look there. So it has process and exit, so when it's stuff like that. So we can go back to our device. I recommend you doing this in temp because you're downloading something, and I don't really like downloading it the home system. So here keep the bash running, and we see here it's finished, and we see here Tetra has installed, and we know it's executable. So now we want to go back to the website, or just paste in the logs, and just basically Tetra get events will get events all default, and the pod is obviously the system monitor deployment pod, which we are running right now. So what we can do is now enter, and now we see all of these processes. We haven't even done anything, but this has been from previous. Now what we can do is cat shadow to see if it will pick up, and we see cat shadow, and we see it has picked up, and we see it's exited, and the process. So the process, when it's first typed in, when it's click enter and you get the result back, that's when it exits. So now we can do something which has a more longer exit time, and we just see sh, and we see it's holding at the process because we haven't exited out of that process yet. And we do ls just that, and we see it has actually captured, even though we're in a different shell. It's still capturing. Now we can just do exit here, and we see here we have got the exit right there. So we basically get most of these stuff here. So we basically getting all what's happening, stuff like that. So that's exit process. Here what we can do is now go back to the website and see here we see the Tetra CLI provides context awareness and stuff like that. So now what we can do, we can exploit to gain host system, and we want to copy that exploit, and we want to see if it basically if it gets picked up by the Cilium Tetragon we're running here. So clear, and I put that in, and we see here we get a sh shell, and now we see here just cancel it and redo it, and we see here it's at the top here, and it's just a process, and we see it does get picked up from Cilium Tetragon, and because this is in a kernel level, even in the host system it will still start auditing. So we just did ls here, and you can see at the bottom screen, at the bottom it has picked up the ls. So even if because it's in a kernel level, it manages in a kernel level, so we will get all the audits. So here we basically got we got the host system here, and we can go back to the website, and basically we have finished the scenario. Just a simple scenario on how Tetragon can detect these attacks and how it notifies you in real-time security monitoring. So that's basically the video up, and how it used eBPF-based security, and see you guys next time.